Hey, how's it going? My name is Patrick. My friends call me Patty. That's why my YouTube channel is called Patty's Films. Anyways, I'm a film photographer based in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And today I'm going to be telling you about the Nikon F5. So in this video I'm going to be speaking more about my experience with this camera for the past year that I've been using this. So yeah, this camera has been there with me since the beginning, I guess, transitioning from DSLR to film. So just to start off, I got this camera for about $300 at the time, like a year ago when I purchased this used from someone else. Now I do want to warn you a little bit though that if you're gonna buy this camera now, it would be a little bit more than $300. That's because I feel like film photography is at a trend nowadays and people are buying into film cameras. Personally, 400, 500 is not that bad for a Nikon F5, especially since this camera was, let me search up how much it was back in the day when this camera was introduced in 1996. It was around $4,000 at that time. I mean Canadian dollars, so in the US it would be worth like $3,000 US. But yeah, so getting this used for 400 to 500 is not that bad, especially for a beast like this. This is Nikon's flagship film camera. Now as you can tell, I don't have anything in there. This camera actually takes AA batteries. So this is the battery holder and there's about 8 of these. So the batteries that I have with me are the EBL AA rechargeable batteries. Now this is the most important thing about owning a film camera, is that I recommend you should get rechargeable batteries. You don't want to be spending money every time once your batteries are dead you have to get another one. At some point in shoot film cameras these AA batteries as well. So yeah, if you're gonna be getting into film photography, I recommend going for the rechargeable ones because it will save you a lot of money in the long run. And I got this for, I don't even remember how much I got this, but I got it on Amazon, and it also includes with the battery chargers for these AA batteries. So I'm gonna put these in here. It's on. Now this camera, I believe when it came out it was meant for sports photography, so I believe it says that it shoots 8 frames per second. So there's actually 3 different modes, or 4 different modes. So there's singular, there's continuous low, continuous high, and then continuous silent. So continuous high, so apparently that's 8 frames per second, and then continuous low, and then continuous silent. Now obviously I don't use this camera for sports photography. If you've known my work, I've been doing portraits with it. That means the autofocus on this camera is on point. It will never miss a shot. I don't really do manual focus on this camera. It's all just autofocus because of my workflow. Like, it's sort of fast paced. You know, you don't want to keep the model waiting for you to focus on her and stuff like that, so I just keep everything on automatic focus and it never missed a subject. Also, the cool thing about this camera is that it has a Nikon F mount, so if you've been a Nikon DSLR shooters, whatever lenses that you've been shooting on your DSLR will work on the Nikon F5. So this lens that I have with me is a 24 to 70 millimeter f2.8, and pairing these two is just great. Adapting a modern lens on a film camera is just like, you have like the best performing film camera ever. I also have the 70 to 200 millimeter f2.8 here with me. Another cool thing is that this camera works on DX lenses as well. Like I mentioned, you know, it's an F mount. Your DSLR, your Nikon DSLRs are also F mounts. So it works on the DX lens that are meant for, you know, crop sensor bodies like the Nikon D3000 series, the 5000 series, and the 7000 series. Those are all DX cameras. I've used the 17 to 55 millimeter f2.8, which was the lens that I had back when I used to shoot the Nikon D500. That was a DX digital SLR camera, and it works with this one as well. However, if I go below 35 millimeter focal range, you will start to see the border around the inside of the lens. That's also to keep in mind. Like, you can still use a DX or crop sensor lens on the Nikon F5. It's just that it will only be usable from 35 millimeter focal range and up. Now I believe this camera alone weighs around 3 pounds or close to 3 pounds, which is pretty heavy. Even paired with a 24 to 70 is pretty heavy. It's a pretty heavy setup. I think it was almost around 5 pounds when these two are together. It's even heavier when I have the 70 to 200 on this body. It's like Last I checked on the weight scale, it was around 6 pounds. So it's a heavy body. It's built like a tank, but with it comes with, you know, weather sealing. I've shot this camera in the rain one time actually. Towards the end of the shoot though, this lens autofocus stopped working, so yeah, that's just to keep in mind. This lens was so wet that I had to go manual focus. So yeah, terrifying experience. Never ever do it. Now, so for indoors and a little bit of like a low light situation, it's crazy how well this camera performs even in indoors and low lights. Still never misses a focus. Here are some sample photos. Those were shot indoors and somewhat of a low light situations, and I was so happy with how on point the autofocus is on this camera. This camera has really like never failed me, to be honest. Now there's different metering modes that this camera has. So there's spot metering, matrix metering, and center weighted metering. I've been shooting this camera on the matrix metering for the past since the beginning that I've been using this camera. I don't know, I can't really like compare it to the spot and the center weighted metering because I've been shooting on matrix metering, but looking at all the photos that I've shot with this camera, there's like everything is well balanced in terms of lighting and the shadows. So I can't really speak on the metering part about this camera because since it's like film, I just keep it at matrix. This camera also has like a little like door that you can open right over here. You can change like the ISO. There's also like bracketing, which I never really use. Now for outdoors, no brainer, you'll never miss a focus with this camera. Obviously, I mean, you're outdoors, right? We'll just stop by this location before we head all the way to the other side of the island. Oh, what if it looks like you're coming out of the water?
I know. Like,
yeah, I think that's better. Yeah. Pretty sure you guys are familiar with the Magic School Bus show. Literally, this song just came into my head when I saw this bus.
It's nice to finally have a mirror.
Yeah, finally. Jeez. Do you think this is the old TTC bus? Look at this.
No, I mean this must still.
These are the transfer tickets.
February.
Oh yeah, it says TTC right there. Oh, so this must be an old TTC bus. Damn, that's crazy. Like I said, the only drawback is that it's pretty heavy, but I mean, helps you get in shape, right? One thing for sure though, I've watched another YouTuber talk about his experience with this camera, and he's saying that he has struggled with his autofocus being on point, and I feel like it's because he was using a third-party lens on his Nikon F5. Judging on what I've seen on his video, he was shooting with the Sigma 35mm f1.8 or f1.4, I believe, on the Nikon F5. So just to keep in mind, I'm not sure how well this camera will perform in third-party brands lens. So I recommend shooting on generic Nikon glasses on the Nikon F5 if you want to get the best performance out of it. So that's just like one thing to keep in mind. But yeah, I don't really have a lot to talk about in terms of like its features and its specs. All I can say is that this camera has never ever failed me in the past year that I've been shooting with this camera. Would I recommend it? I'd say 95%, and that 5% has to be because of the weight of this camera, you know, the heaviness of this camera. But it's a good cardio exercise for me, to be honest, is carrying around this camera on my back. But yeah, it's great. Its autofocus is great. The matrix metering is awesome, and I highly recommend it, especially if you're a Nikon shooter and if you're thinking about getting into film photography. I recommend going for this camera, or even if you're not a Nikon shooter and you're looking to get into film photography, like if you're looking for a camera that something not too expensive, the best performer all around, F5. Anyways, I hope you like this video. Leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and yeah, see you later. Peace.
It's not bad, right? You're like, you dipped in like the second time.
I just want my hair to like be laying
Okay.
the right way.